It's time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quanell X and Big Angry Adams ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
I didn't think that this was real, but has been essentially banned in the state of Texas. I went to the website myself to find out what it said. So essentially what happened is that the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, sued, and the website, upon the lawsuit and everything, said, we're just gonna pull out of the state of Texas. So if you live in Texas, you can't access the website anymore. This is the message that comes up if you go to the website. There's a couple things to address here. Number one, I find it wildly ironic that the Republican Attorney General, who had a very public affair on his wife, is the one who did this, because let's not be hypocritical. Number two, find it also ironic that Republicans are all focused on this, but when we had a literal predator, Brian Slayton, who was an elected Republican in the legislature, very few of them were actually willing to condemn him for his behavior when he was kicked out.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
You know, Quanell, that lady, she got some stuff right and some stuff wrong, but in fact, Pornhub and some of their competitors have pulled out of the great state of Texas. They have blocked Texans or people in the state from being able to access the websites. And they're doing it not because the state has banned it, but in 2023, Texas's theocratic, fake conservatives passed a statute that said you have to age verify all users, or if you don't, up to $10,000 fine a day. You cannot retain the identifying information, or that's another $10,000 a day. And if any child has access to the pornography, that's a $250,000 fine per child. My problem with that is, although I'm not a big consumer of pornography, I do believe in the First Amendment. And a lot of people clamoring and celebrating this are the same Republicans who are always clamoring for the Second Amendment being a broad-based right. Like, I can take my gun anywhere, in which in Texas you pretty much can. And I will say I believe in the First Amendment, and I also believe in parents being expected to parent, right? Parents need to do their damn job and control what kids can access on the internet. The rest of us don't need to jump through hoops or have our rights denied because parents aren't paying attention to their damn kids.
Charles, I'm often on the opposite side politically of Governor Abbott in Texas. But on this particular case, I agree with him. This was the right move to make by the state of Texas to protect the children of Texas.
How?
Because you should be required, Pornhub and other pornographic sites should be required to age verify. Because,
How?
Let me finish, man. They have ways to do that. Other companies does age verification. Even some movie houses do age verification. It's important that we do that, Charles. Let me tell you something. I did further research into this. They've had children whose parents would monitor their internet access. But yet when they got to school, they were able to Google porn, and up came porn videos for kids to watch. We've had multiple cases across the country where children just Google something and they can get porn. It's been proven that social media outlets have given access to pornographic material on social media access. This is about protecting our children. If you're an adult, then do what you want to do. But we should put safeguards in place to protect our kids from having access to pornography.
Yeah, it's called parents. You're making the same argument that liberals make, and you're a big Republican. You're just quiet about it. You love you some Abbott.
I'm an independent.
There are the same arguments that we hear from the anti-gun crowd, right? And I am a liberty person, right? I'm about individual enumerated liberties being experienced for everyone, no matter what their skin color, their orientation, whatever. We need to be free, right? But there is an argument, we should go after the gun manufacturers. In fact, many leftists are doing so right now for producing the guns, instead of going after the people that are buying them and allowing children to get access or allowing criminals to get access. We need to hold people accountable. Now, if parents...
But hold these corporate giants who make billions of dollars off of material such as porn, hold them accountable to a higher standard, protect the children.
So OnlyFans, because they are producing porn, they have to get, the users are producing their own porn, they have to submit age verification, right, to confirm that every participant is of age. So they do the same policy, but they retain the data for that creation purposes, right? The state of Texas is telling these other sites you can't retain the data because it's an infringement of privacy. Of course, the Republicans don't want Pornhub.
I think everybody would be okay with that.
Of course, the Republicans don't want Pornhub keeping a list
let me ask you a question,
of all
Charles.
the Republicans looking at the weird porn that they're embarrassed of.
Now, you said earlier in this segment that you're not a big consumer of porn.
Right.
How much have you consumed?
I'm not a consumer. I don't look at it.
That ain't what you said. You said you're not a big consumer.
Well, I've seen porn.
I know you have.
And in fact,
you've been on that website.
The last time someone asked me
you've
to
been on
look
that
at
website
porn,
subscribing.
the last time someone asked me to look
getting
at porn
freaky, aren't you?
Was you
getting freaky, aren't you?
Looking at a video. Was it Drake? It was some. I didn't.
It was Drake who was showing his rod.
It was that Meek Mill thing that you sent in the audio.
Oh my God! Him and P. Diddy.
That's you. And you
knocking each other down from the back.
But here's
wrestling
the thing.
and butt slapping.
As adults, we should not sacrifice individual liberties because the Republicans.
I'm willing to do that if it means protecting our children and not giving them uninterrupted access to porn sites. I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
What state consumes the most gay porn in the country?
I bet you would know. I don't know. I have no idea, but I guarantee
Utah,
you know.
Filled with Republicans, like 80-something% Republican.
Now that's pretty deep, ain't it?
Right? But if you look
full of
at
Mormons.
the Republican states are also the states that are biggest consumer porn. That's why Texas doesn't want them to maintain.
But it's not about adults consuming porn, Charles.
Here's the thing.
This is about protecting the children from having access to porn,
Charles. We should be mad at Pornhub for not removing revenge porn. We should be mad at Pornhub for not policing child porn enough. We should
revenge porn is a criminal charge now.
But we should be mad at Pornhub for not protecting the content that's presented.
And we should be mad, and we should be outraged.
If you give your kid an iPad and you don't put parental controls on there and you don't pay attention to what he's doing,
listen to me, Charles.
That's your failure as a parent, not my failure. I shouldn't have to sacrifice my liberty for your kids
that are sharing porn at school.
Well,
even if you're a parent policing it in your home, they're going to public schools where that material is being shared on their cell phones just because they can type it in, it comes right up.
Parents,
Charles, we got to do better to protect our children. We got to do better, Charles.
Schools can say, if you're going to have this device here, it has to have this kind of control lock. There are things that can be done that don't involve
selling. So why require the schools to do it, but not Pornhub?
So there's other ways.
Why we ask parents to stand up a higher standard, but we will hold Pornhub to a higher standard?
Doesn't control kids' ability to see it. It's $250,000. The websites can't control the consumer.
Go see a rated R movie.
Parents can.
Children can't go see a rated R movie.
That's a very thing.
Because they changed the law. They changed the policy. Same thing here.
Okay, the thing is, it's a parent's job to control. It's not analogous. Yes, kids shouldn't be able to go into a porn cinema and watch porn. There's a gateway there, right? What you're saying is that these websites have to take data, control data, implement data.
So what's the best website to go on?
Republicans got to stop
What's the best website to go on?
Republicans got to stop being fake theocrats, and you too.
Don't tell me you don't know.
You always sending me porn. What is wrong with you?
I seen what they sent me on this damn show.
Yeah,
I don't see no freak porn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to go up, like I watch, for instance, DJ Khaled. I don't have any problem with any man who's been very successful enjoying himself. But you have to, and I don't know what's in somebody's heart. I do know what's on their post. I don't know what's in your head, I know what's on your timeline. So I'll see you exalting God when you make a shot, right? But I'll watch a 7-year-old Palestinian boy who is praying to God for the strength to bear that his family had been killed.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, we just watched a segment of one of our legendary comedians in the African-American community, Brother D.L. Hughley. And he was speaking about one of the most prominent hip-hop artists of the last generation and a half, DJ Khaled, who is from Palestine. He's a Palestinian hip-hop artist who lives in America. Well, D.L. Hughley was speaking out, as well as other entertainment figures and musical entertainment figures in particular, who are his colleagues in the hip hop industry, are speaking out against DJ Khaled for being a Palestinian, but he hasn't opened his mouth and said one word about what is taking place in Palestine with the bombing, the massacre, the killing, and what the United Nations call genocide. And for DJ Khaled to be a Palestinian and be afraid to open his mouth out of fear of losing money, some believe, endorsement deals, etc., I say to DJ Khaled, would Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah think the same way? Would Musa think the same way? Would Abraham think the same way? You have a divine duty, dear brother, when you see the suffering and injustice of humanity, even your own people, to speak up about it, DJ Khaled, because what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose your whole soul? He should be ashamed of himself.
The only people that should be ashamed of themselves are you. I don't see how you don't live in a constant state of shame, and DL for straining to find a reason to criticize a guy that is universally accepted as being one of the most caring, giving, nicest guys in the hip-hop industry, right? I've never heard anyone say anything bad about Khaled. I represent members of the hip-hop industry. They have relationships with them. Everyone has said. I've only met him once at South Bay. He couldn't have been nicer and more gracious, right? Good guy. Does a lot of charitable work. Really appreciates his own success that he built with his own two hands. And it is just people looking to say ugly things about someone. And I'll give you some more. You want to talk religion? Judge not, lest thee be judged, right? You don't have any idea what he is doing to support anybody. You don't have any idea what his feelings on the situation. I haven't heard you speak out. You know, I haven't heard DL speak out about freeing the hostages, the young women being raped in Gaza by Hamas.
I've called for their freedom and release.
Only when you're going on and about your nonsense, right? And the truth is that we didn't hear anything about the hostages at the Academy Awards. It's not criticizing Israel or Israel's bombing campaign that is having such horrible consequences in Gaza. That doesn't get you canceled in America or anywhere in the Western world. What gets you canceled is when you talk about the radical Islamists who are leading a campaign of terror. I literally saw a clip of them shooting at the hospital, at the airport last week, talking about it was a liberation. Once again, they were targeting regular people getting off a plane. And terrorism has been a reality that has been directed at Muslims. It's been directed at Christians.
But
hey, how many Christians were killed in Nigeria and you didn't give a damn?
Hold on. Let me tell you something.
You don't give a damn.
Let me tell you something.
You're always lecturing people.
I've always spoke out about what Muslims have been doing around the world.
Even on Fox Faceoff, I ain't heard a word about Nigeria.
I've called the Nigerian terrorists who kidnap young girls and marry them terrorists, and they should be punished.
You mean Boko Haram?
I've also said this on this show, that why is it America would help fight the terrorists for Israel against Hamas, but she won't do a damn thing for what's taking place in Nigeria with Boko Haram and what they're doing to Christians and other Muslims.
I missed that
because Boko Haram is killing everybody in Nigeria.
Someone points out
DJ Khaled
the violence in the Middle East.
Should be ashamed of his damn
say,
self.
oh no, they're not real
DJ
Muslims.
Khaled should be ashamed to call himself a Palestinian.
Why?
Because
he's not
he obeys money.
For you and
he obeys money.
How do you
know? He won't fight for his own people.
How do you know the content
Children are starving in Palestine.
How do you know?
Starving to death.
Hey, you know what?
Dying of malnutrition. Children are being bombed and going to hospitals with their heads missing. That's not Hamas. Those are the children of Palestine. And DJ Khaled, get off your scary ass and open your mouth and say something for your people.
We have a hip-hop artist here in town that loves to run in front of a camera and act like he's doing charity and get awards and do all that. Then we have a huge part of our hip-hop community that just likes to do good deeds, just likes to support people, but they don't want no camera attention for it. You have no idea what Khaled has done or not done, right?
In
You are
regards to the
telling him
Palestinian
that he
war
has to say words
and what's happening in
that
Palestine,
maybe
his own Palestinian
maybe he
people, his
understands-
own family is
maybe
condemning him. His own Palestinian relatives who still live in Palestine are condemning him.
More about the situation than you do.
No,
maybe
he's just too damn scared to lose money and endorsements.
Well, what are you talking? We actually had a winner of an Academy Award basically denounced Judaism. He was Jewish. There is no shortage of people willing.
And this
to
was a
condemn,
Jewish guy?
Yeah, well, there's no shortage of people
So
willing
is he
to condemn
anti-Semitic?
Israel.
Is he anti-Semitic?
No, you're anti-Semitic.
Wait a
But
minute.
Khaled,
so the Jew do the same thing
you
at the
are-
Oscars,
you
and he's
are-
not anti-Semitic.
You are literally
Nah, you
suggesting.
can't play that game
You
with
are
me, brother.
literally suggesting that
The
a man.
word Semite
that a
come from
man
black people.
That has a man. I know. That's how you try to
Oh,
dodge
yeah.
it. Right?
Semite comes from black
Oh,
people.
anti-Semitic doesn't mean Jews
Charles,
because they're fake.
DJ
They're
Khaled
fake.
should be ashamed of
No,
himself.
the only person to be ashamed is you and Hughley, right? You're
No.
condemning a man without any cause
His
for
own
condemning.
family speaking
you
out
don't
against
have
him.
any idea.
You got all
you
them
have
babies
no idea
dying.
what this man is
Over
doing.
14,000
Okay,
children,
wait,
and he won't say nothing?
Well, and
not
you-
even
and
call
you
for a
won't-
ceasefire?
You know what? You won't say.
Not even a ceasefire?
Well, there was a ceasefire in place when they raided and killed a bunch of women and children. You didn't give a damn
And
about that.
Israel
You were out there
has
with your
killed
Palestinian flag,
29,000 more.
because you
And
applaud
Israel
terror.
has killed 29,000 more.
Who started
Then what
the
happened
terror?
on October
Who
7th?
started the terror?
Well, the motions to quash today are arguing that we shouldn't have a evidentiary hearing at all, and that quash is appropriate on those grounds. So, to that end, in studying the law that's been filed up to this point, I think it's clear that disqualification can occur if evidence is produced demonstrating an actual conflict or the appearance of one. And the filings submitted on this issue so far have presented a conflict in the evidence that can't be resolved as a matter of law. Specifically looking at Defendant Roman's motion, it alleges a personal relationship that resulted in a financial benefit to the district attorney, and that is no longer a matter of complete speculation. The state has admitted a relationship existed, and so what remains to be proven is the existence and extent of any financial benefit.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
You know, Quanell, in a very restrained ruling last week, Judge McAfee declared that Fannie Willis, the prosecutor in Fulton County, Georgia, is either required to remove Nathan Wade, her lover, her married lover, who she hired and paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to. I mean, I think it was an unbelievable, like 600 grand. Very high paid, highest paid prosecutor I've ever heard of in my life, and then took that money and lavished it on her. And it appears that they have lied about a number of things, right? When the relationship started, how the money was spent. Almost an absurd caricature of justice. The judge said, look, you can either stay on Fannie, and you can fire Nathan Wade, or you can remove him from the case, or we have to take it away from you. And I think he followed the law very well. I think he acknowledged later, we played a clip, but I think later on he made it very clear that there were some serious issues with Fannie's leadership of the district attorney's office that could be taken up elsewhere, whether the General Assembly there in the state or the bar. I mean, there's a number of things, and it does look like perjury might have been committed, but none of this has much to do with Donald Trump, right? None of this has much to do with the efficacy of the RICO prosecution of him, but it very well may gravely delay it. I think the only case that might go to trial this year is the one in New York, where Alvin Bragg, the district attorney in Manhattan, has asked for a delay because he got 73,000 more documents from the feds. It's crazy times. I think Fannie should have been removed. I think we've got to expect our public servants to have a higher level of integrity than everyone else.
Charles, I do not believe that Fannie Willis will remain on this case, whether she likes it or not. Okay. You know, they just passed a law in Georgia a few weeks back that gave the Assembly the power to remove prosecutors.
Right.
And so I believe they did that going after Fannie Willis. All she had to do was be smart, be wise, and intelligent. When it was discovered you made a bad decision putting your lover as point man against the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, the former president, what she should have done was removed herself and him, especially before you get on the stand. And the judge spoke about how unprofessional she was. The judge referenced about the great lapse in judgment that she showed. But also, I agree with you. You and I both know some perjury took place on that stand.
Oh, absolutely.
And I believe that the state bar is going to come after her. And I also believe that the governor is going to remove Fannie Willis and send it to another county.
So we also have the issue. Did you see where during this hearing weeks ago, she got up at the pulpit at her house of worship and claimed that her identity as an African American female should shield her from this criticism?
And this ain't got a damn thing to do with her race.
Nothing to do with it
at all.
Right? And I mean, at the end of the day, it does seem like there has been some unseemly relationship between the Biden administration and funding given to Fulton County and Fannie Willis.
Well, the part that needs to come out that nobody's really talking about, these private meetings that Fannie Willis had with the Biden administration in D.C. In D.C. Before she brought these charges. It looks like the Biden administration and President Biden himself helped direct this prosecution of Donald Trump by meeting privately a number of meetings that she refused to disclose about this case before she indicted Donald Trump. I mean, all of this doesn't pass the smell test.
Well, we're looking like more and more like on the world stage, like what was referring to Central America, a banana republic, right? Where you have a government that uses the criminal justice system to silence opposition. It is a barb that the Western journalists, especially in America, use to condemn Putin. And I think Putin's a horrible monster of a human, right? But when we are doing the same thing, when we are trying to imprison the leader of one of the two political parties, and no one's really dug into the Obama administration's digging into the Trump campaign and snooping on the Trump campaign, which made Watergate seem like no one's talking about it. We talk about Biden, came out, Biden broke the law, Biden's lying about it being exonerated. We talk about Hillary Clinton breaking the law, and we had the head of the FBI say that no reasonable prosecutor would bring this case, but we have Donald Trump looking at, like 90 indictments and hundreds of years in prison. The man ain't shot nobody. He ain't molested no kids.
Right.
And yet we're talking about centuries in prison, and it does seem like we're trying to silence a voice. Now, I also think Donald Trump poses a huge danger to America.
But the whole scheme, though.
But so does Biden.
But guess what? I think we both have to agree, let the American people make that decision.
Right.
Don't weaponize your positions as politician and your offices and then prosecute those who you feel are your adversaries or your counterparts and those who represent a counterparty. But don't use your power to prosecute like that.
It does look like, as I've looked at all this litigation, it does look like crimes were committed by Trump and his henchmen in Georgia. Georgia-specific crimes, right?
But a criminal shouldn't be allowed to prosecute a criminal. But a criminal should not be allowed to prosecute a criminal.
Fannie already had guilty pleas. Fannie had the best case, and she ruined it. She would be one of the most famous prosecutors. Nathan Wade would have probably rode the coattails instead.
But her boy toy had to be paid.
Married boyfriend. They look like a couple of clowns, and it's horrible for America.
I'm angry with Fannie because she knew she shouldn't have paid Nathan all that money.
She should have paid it to you, Quanell.
Hey, Fannie. You know, I'm really disappointed in Fannie Willis. Miss Willis, you had your boy toy, Mr. Wade, and gave him all that money. He testified on the stand, and you did too, how you lavished him with all of these gifts and trips all across the country and out of the country, etc. You know, Fannie, for that much money, Fannie, you could have did better. But I do want to say this. If you're going to defeat Donald Trump, let the people of this country make that decision. Stop trying to use courtrooms to stop that man from getting to the election, because it makes us look fools when we criticize democracy in Russia and how Putin is a dictator who prosecutes his enemies politically, when it looks like we're doing the same thing right here in America with the Biden administration. Not only what we do must be right, it must also look right. That is my concern. And please, Pornhub should be ashamed of themselves. Yes, you should be having age verification to make sure that our babies are not gaining unfiltered access to porn sites, because the documents and the proof and the evidence is there that school-age children is even accessing some of the public schools of America and private ones too, because the access is too unlimited.
You know, there are issues with Pornhub, right? There are the existence of revenge porn, unauthorized porn, and child porn, and that these websites have not been aggressive enough about responding to complaints or outcries, and there should be liability for that. But what the fake theocrats of the Republican Party in Texas are doing here is they're imposing an obligation. It's not merely click, oh, I'm over 21, right? It's a tremendous obligation. And then this affirmative duty that if a kid somehow does get access to it, that there's this huge fine. And this is what we did, the left and the right, Democrats and the Republicans, when you look at the same conversations going on about guns in America, that we are embracing this concept of a nanny state and trampling individual liberties. I'm not a huge fan of porn. There is a lot of damage that I think pornography, when exposed to kids, does to relationships and to expectations of sexual relationships, and it paints very harmful misogynistic narratives. But we are Americans, and we have enumerated freedoms in the First Amendment, Second Amendment, all throughout our Constitution. And I don't just care about the rights that I enjoy, that I prefer, the flavor of liberty that I have a taste for. I care about liberty for all Americans, and damn it, the Republicans, it's a travesty, and so is Quanell.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.